So let's go ahead and change this back to get for now. And I'm going to go here and change this to get as well. And let's actually make a constant for this, because I only want to change this in one place. So I'm going to have a method constant. Which is going to be equal to get. And then here in my back end, I'm going to use a little trick. So I want to use $under get for get method and $under post for post method. So what I'm going to do is say globals, $globals of, and then I'm going to add this string to the method. And so this will be $under get or $under post in the globals array, which is going to retrieve the appropriate global variable, superglobal, and then it will take the key. So now the method is a constant, and I can change only this one place to switch between get and post. So let's go ahead and make sure it works. So it should be get now. Oops. Let's go ahead and reload. We'll type hello PHP and submit. I think I don't want the $ here. I think I just want under. Yeah, that worked. Okay, so now I'm using get method and it works. Let's try using post method. And reload. And submit. And it works. So what if I want to put an anchor tag on this page that uses get method to pass a value to handle input? So that's one of the advantages of using get method, is you can actually put an anchor tag that has the values right in there. And let's go ahead and create a constant for the value I want to pass. Call it user value. And I'm going to put the string so lots of funny characters in there. And I'm going to do the obvious thing first. So here I'm going to have a break and an anchor tag href equal, and I'm going to create a PHP island, and I'm going to echo my target page, and then question mark, and then my user input key, and then an equal sign, and then my user value. And that's going to be the URL. So it'll be like handle under input.php question mark, whatever I called this value, user input equal, and then the user value string. And then I'll just say click here, and then I'll close my anchor tag. Oh, and I forgot to close my PHP island, so let's do that. There. So this will be the new URL. And let's go ahead and see if it works. So I'm going to go ahead and reload, and here's my URL. And if I hover over it, you'll see in the user input equal there's all sorts of funny characters. There's spaces, and the single quote got converted to %27, but let's go ahead and click, and I get an error, so it doesn't work at all. Undefined index user input on line 1. Let's make sure we're using get method. Oh, let's use get method here. And hit reload. So it worked. I didn't get an error, but I didn't get my output either. Let's actually look at the page source. So it's actually interpreted this as a tag, a hello tag, and this is an I tag or something like that. And so this is HTML, and it doesn't show anything at all. So what I really need to do, I need to encode this string somehow so that all the special characters are protected when I send it over. So let's go ahead and see how to do that. Well, there's a couple of different functions you can use depending on exactly what you're looking for. And those are the encode functions. So the two important ones for now are URL encode, and this is what you're going to use after after the question mark. So if you have get parameters that you want to encode, URL encode is what to use for that. And then if you want to encode characters in a URL before the question mark, use raw URL encode. So for host name and port and all that, path, you're going to use raw URL encode, and then for the parameters that get sent using get method, you're going to use URL encode. So let's go ahead and try using URL encode and see what we get. I'm going to go back to my hello. So I'm going to URL encode this user value here. To make sure it's safe. So you always want to URL encode user supplied data. I supplied this myself as a constant, so I don't have to worry about encoding this. And same thing here. But this could be any value, so you want to encode it so that it's safe to send it. Now let's go ahead and reload. And now if I hover over, it looks much the same, except you see it's also encoded a couple of other characters. So it's encoded the exclamation points and the plus sign. If I click here, I get the plus. So the plus has been sent correctly now. Before it was just converted back to a space and basically ignored. You see the exclamation points are now correct, but I still have the problem with these angle brackets. And the problem with those is that these are HTML entities, and so I need to encode those as well. So I'm sending something that's going to be used as HTML. And so here, instead of just echoing this value, I'm going to echo HTML entities of that. So now reload, and I get everything I want. So let's go ahead and look at the page source. So these LT semicolon and GT semicolon, those are HTML entities for less than and greater than sign. The special characters, exclamation point, plus, single quote, and space, those were encoded using URL encode. And by combining both of those things, I can actually send HTML inside of an anchor. So once again, to summarize, URL encode, use that for the parameters you send using get method. Raw URL encode, use that if you're creating a URL path, the stuff before the question mark. HTML entities is used to convert characters that are special in HTML to something that you can put inside of your page that will get displayed correctly. And special characters is basically the same thing as HTML entities, except HTML entities handle some additional characters that HTML special characters doesn't use. And we'll talk about JSON encode in a later video and header in a later video.